This is the next chart from Lance Roberts, and it's kind of messy, but it's kind of pretty too. It's all of the spreads. So each line is either the 10-year, the 10 and 1 spread, the 10 and 2 spread, the 10 and 5 spread, or the 5 and 3 month spread. Each one is a different spread. I think he has 10 or 20 on this, or 15, I think, on this chart. But you can see that each time they kind of cascade and waterfall down to inversion, and then we have a recession. It's very, very clear. What I did was I zoomed in. This is my own chart. I just took a few of those for a representation, just to zoom in on this. But what I wanted to do was show the great financial crisis back in 2008. You can see that the yields started compressing, but they sloped down nicely, right? It wasn't like all of a sudden they crashed to zero. And then if you go to after that, the reflation, and they sloped down nicely till 2019, when we had the repo rumble, we had the Fed pivot, we had all those things that happened in 2019, and then of course coronavirus. But that's a nicely sloping downward curve. But right now, if you look at right now, it's straight down. All of these curves are inverting over the last week or month. It's like a brick wall. The economy is going to hit a brick wall. And that's what I think when you look at the fiscal spending chart, you look at these yield curve inversion chart here, that everything's hitting a wall. I think something is going to happen before September. So they're in this 2-month break. Well, now they have 2 months of something really bad could happen within the next 8 weeks. And I try not to be an alarmist. And I just wrote a piece about not being an alarmist, and that there's so many people in macro that are saying, like oil's going to $200 a barrel and the world is going to end and the S&P is going to crash to zero, and or take 50% off at least. And there's all these alarmists out there, and I try not to be that, but I think that we're coming to the wall, and the Fed knows it. So we'll see what they do tomorrow. If you go to the next slide, this is a chart from Jeff Schneider this morning on Twitter, and the blue line is real GDP. And you can see the dotted line is if we would have maintained the pre-COVID growth rate. And you can see we never got back to trend. And now we're declining again. If you put on here the pre-global financial crisis, so if you go back before 2007 and you put that trend line on here, it would be way higher. I mean, it would be off the chart, because we have just gone so far down below the pre-GFC normal growth trend that it can't even be charted on here. Anyway, on the right side, the 4 little lines there, he's kind of extrapolating. The top one is if we repeat a .com type recession for GDP, and then the next one is the first half of the great financial crisis. The dotted red one is the Volcker recession, 81 and 82. And then the bottom, the thick red line, is second half of the great financial crisis. So he's saying if we are to repeat one of these type of events, this is what it would look like. Now, this is where I'm not going to be an alarmist, because I really think that we could be close. We could be on the path of a .com type GDP pullback, where we do see some stock market declines. We see a financial crisis, but it doesn't really rattle the market that much. And how would I describe this? Well, back in 2019, if you guys remember the repo rumble, it happened, like I said, I think September 16th or something like that of 2019. It was just in a niche part of the financial system, repos, and it froze up. And even on the run treasuries, that's the most pristine of the pristine of collateral, could not find a bid. The financial system froze, but nobody out in the normal market knew about it. It was just a very niche event that happened, and that made the Fed pivot. They pivoted from QT to QE right away. There was no pause even. So I think that we could be looking at a situation like that. We're hitting a brick wall. There's going to be some malfunction deep within the credit market, the credit system. most people, it's going to be transparent to most people. They're not going to see it, but the Fed is going to be scared because, the system is hours away from breaking and going to Mad Max. And that's where they pivot. So, all right, I rest my case right here.